engage in. This is to recognize the current environment that President Hakainde Hichilema, who appears he wants to be a president of PF, we might have to accept that he will not let go of the PF. He wants to be de facto president of Patriotic Front. And naba ikakatila PF. You know, just recently he engineered, State House engineered the removal of Mal Sampa, and now they are sponsoring Robert Chavinga Mafinga MP. And you have seen the president, especially from the last ceremony in Mansa, Chabuka ceremony, where the president called Robert Chavinga as leader of the opposition in parliament and acting president of the Patriotic Front. The president knows that those are illegalities, but he's the one that has carried Chavinga on the plane. He's the one that puts him in his entourage. He's the one that puts him on the forum. And he's the one that allows him to say this. So you have a president who's masquerading as a Patriotic Front president. He's deciding what should happen in PF. He's deciding who should be suspended in PF. He's deciding what name should be on the registrar. You recently heard that Registrar of Societies, upon served with a court order, contempt proceedings, that she should face contempt proceedings for changing office bearers from Mal Sampa to Robert Chavinga. She immediately resigned, and she said she didn't want to be part of the illegalities that the Ministry of Home Affairs under Honorable Jack Mwimbo and Honorable Dixon Matembo and the illegalities they are doing to the office of the Registrar of Societies. She resigned because she knew the consequences would be on her as registrar. It is her signature, it is her name that will be will face the consequences of the illegalities that President Hakainde Hichilema is doing. And that is our warning to other public officials, civil servants and others. They are telling you to sign those contracts. It is you who will be held personally responsible. It is you that will be personally liable for all these things. I felt sad when I watched the Minister of Mines, Honorable Paul Kabwe, in Parliament, where he was saying, no, we have not sold Mopani to anyone, no shares were sold, no transfer was done.
We'll come to that.
Yes.
Come to that because
but Parliament is asking him. Yeah. He's a Minister of Mines. He's the one that's liable for the illegalities that have occurred.
Yeah, but before we get to that, and I know we'll come to that, but let's while we are talking about your participation in the Kawambwa by-election, finally, you got the filing done, right? And it was a battle, I think, initially. But finally you filed in, and then my question now is this the candidate that you think will get that seat back to the Patriotic Front, although it's going to be under the new Congress party?
So, like I stated, the party has mandated President Lungu to enter into any alliance, political alliance, to enter into any electoral pact. And what you saw in Kawambwa is just part of the broader decisions that were made, that as we battle to get the Patriotic Front from President Hakainde Hichilema, we still have to participate. We have to provide directions to our members. Our decision to use a new Congress party is for Kawambwa. Remember in Chilabombo we have used FDD. FDD has featured a candidate at council level. We couldn't file in Shangombo, but FDD has come on board to feature a candidate in Chilabombo, and we need to acknowledge and thank Honorable Harry Kalaba of Citizen First, who made a last-minute withdrawal because he felt that the candidates for the opposition were already numerous. There was one for PPAZ, there was one for the New Congress Party, there was one for Socialist Party, and Honorable Kalaba, who was supposed to file a Citizen First candidate under United Kwacha Alliance, decided that in the interest of unity in the opposition that he will not participate.
No,
for us, Zach, that's a magnanimity we need to engage in. Members of the opposition must understand that you have a ruthless leader leading this country who's determined to clamp down on all our rights and freedom, all our political and civil rights to participate in the democratic process of our country. He's very determined. And to fight him and be an alternative to our people who are suffering, and suffering deeply from the worst load shedding we've ever had, to the cost of living crisis, where we truly, our people can't afford the cost of mealie meal, cost of fuel, cost of electricity, cost of everything, totally unaffordable, where our public workers are heavily indebted and can only get a 500 kwacha increment. The people of Zambia, like that farmer who can't receive fertilizer on time, and this is November and it's raining, like that worker that is struggling to survive under this cost of living crisis, where you need up to 10,400 kwacha for a family of 5 just to survive. They are looking up to the alternative to President Hakainde Hichilema. Who is the alternative? It is us in the opposition. If we are fragmented, we will be giving President Hakainde Hichilema this election in 2026 on a silver platter. It will be like the Mwanawasa election, where Mwanawasa got 29% and the opposition got 71%. But because they were fragmented, Mwanawasa, who was such a minority president, became president of this country. So similarly, we may be strong, our people may be determined, but if we are fragmented, we are not working in unity, will allow the UPND to sail through under the circumstances that will have disappointed the people of Zambia. Look at Dilika Ward, Inchpata, where the combined votes of the opposition beat the UPND candidate. Why did the UPND candidate win in Dilika? Because the opposition was fragmented. Yet the opposition have got more numbers than the UPND candidate. It becomes an imperative for the opposition to be united. It becomes an imperative for all of us to subdue our personal ambitions and interests and look at the bigger goal. Look at a candidate who can win us elections. Is it Edgar Lungu? Is it Harry Kalaba? Is it Fred Membe? Is it Brian Munduvile? Is it Emmanuel Mwamba? Who is it that can win us this election? And we have to seriously, like the Patriotic Front has decided, we want to lead in bringing together all these voices that are scattered in the opposition.
So I zero in into Kawamba, and your candidate is Mr. Dunstan Mansa. Is this the man that you think people of Kawamba will definitely vote for?
The message is very simple. Mwe bantu bakwalesa nabamika kila bantu benu kuri aba bantu abankalwe nabesa bamipoka entungulushi bamipoka council chairperson bamipoka na MP bishokutuma bavotela. Really? Is this how you repair?
So you want to get a sympathy vote?
Why not? Why not? In honor of Nixon Chilangwa and every other person that has been disenfranchised, there is no shame in demonstrating that they've suffered injustice. The seat belongs to Chitotela and it belongs to Nixon Chilangwa. And stealing it in the manner they are stealing it, the only way we can show this government the red card that Mwaya sana is by voting for this candidate that the Patriotic Front, together with in alliance with Tonse, have fielded. That is the only way that the people of Kawambwa can honor their beloved MP, who they loved so much. Look at the margins in which he won those elections. And he was in his 3rd term. That's how popular Nixon Chilangwa was. So we have no shame to say that what has happened is an injustice. It's a waste of public resources. That by-election should not be taking place. But because you have a tyrannical government determined to have numbers in parliament, you heard the president yesterday, and he's been carried in today's newspapers, where he has promised that there will be constitutional amendments. It doesn't matter what the church say. It doesn't matter what we, the opposition, are saying. It doesn't matter. The church the Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops and their pastoral letter that was issued just last week, it has advised President Hakainde Hichilema to withdraw that bill on hate speech, which is calling to jail people for 20 years. It has called for him to halt the process for constitutional amendments or constitutional reforms because there's just no time. President Hakainde Hichilema is only remaining with 18 months before he leaves office. Why is he embarking on these issues that are well drawn out, require a lot of time to build consensus and agreement before you can even table it before Parliament? But will you listen to them? It's not that he didn't read the pastoral letter, which pastoral letter represents the voice of many Zambians, many stakeholders, many civil society groupings, many political groupings. He has totally ignored that voice, and he has announced he will proceed with constitutional amendments.
Let me take you to the issue that occurred on Sunday when the whole nation had a blackout. First of all, I'm aware that this is not the first blackout that we are facing. We faced a blackout under the patriotic regime. But also, what is interesting is the fact that former head of state in President Edgar Chagwa Lungu has come out to talk about what happened on Sunday. And in his statement, he's saying the national power blackout we experienced last night is an ultimate manifestation manifestation and clear confirmation of how ZESCO, our national utility company, has been driven into complete ruins by the new doom government. End of quote. Now, here, it might, and a lot of people feel that he should be the last person to comment on the blackout. Why? Because in 2021, when this New Dawn government took over, they found ZESCO was highly indebted, a company that was highly indebted. If at all it has downsized its employees and the like, it's all in an effort to see to it that they reduce an expenditure and be able to service the debt that this utility company had accumulated. And to date, we are told that they have done a tremendous job in obviously paying back the debt, and then debt which was obviously accumulated by ZESCO under the PF regime. That's what we're talking about. These could only be manifestations of what you left ZESCO in. I mean, you left ZESCO in debt, and this could just be the manifestation of the recklessness in terms of the borrowing that this company made.
Yeah. First of all, the former president is right under the state of ZESCO. It's under paralysis. ZESCO was told you'll have the worst drought probably in many decades. And the Zambezi River Authority allocated the volume of water that ZESCO could use in a period of 1 year for 2024. What ZESCO should have done was to begin rationing that water, begin minimal load shedding, maybe of 3 hours every day, so that it could see us through to the next rainfall. ZESCO, the board and management and President Hakainde Hichilema, because ZESCO has a board that is appointed by IDC. President Hakainde Hichilema directly appointed Victor Mapani, who was a managing director until recently. So they are all liable for the mess that is occurring at ZESCO. ZESCO proceeded to engage in these huge exports of power to Namibia, Botswana, to South Africa, and to the Southern African power pool. There are those traditional exports we do to Tanzania, Malawi, and DRC. There was a warning by various experts. No. You can't be exporting this kind of power up to 1,200 megawatts. Slow down. The justification that you have a debt that you need to clear doesn't arise. Because when you have a crisis, you're going to accumulate even a far bigger and far faster debt like what we are seeing. Now you have ZESCO passing on the buck to the people of Zambia under emergency tariffs, that people of Zambia must finance the importation of power. What reckless management and board is that? The president is right. It's recklessness. So they cleared the bills just yesterday at their press conference. They told you how much they are accumulating in debt per month. Isn't that $48 million? What will it do until we have sufficient power by March? How much will that be? So should the president have spoken because he had various crises? What did President Edgar Lungu do in his time? Number one, the PF under President Michael Sata and Edgar Lungu found power generation capacity of 1,600 megawatts. 1,600 megawatts. Power consumption in this country at peak is 2,200 megawatts. So we invested in power generation capacity. And you saw, by the time President Hakainde Hichilema was coming into office and President Edgar Lungu was leaving office, the generation capacity was now at 3,700, over and above the national consumption that we do at peak of 2,200. Abanensu, Basangile, that excess power of over 1,200. What did they do, Zach? They thought it's just power to export. There is nothing wrong with export of power because you can't save it. You can't put it in batteries, at industrial level. You need to find and see who you can supply it to. Hence, ZESCO should have entered into contracts that are flexible. In light of the warning that was given, first of all, they shouldn't have been exporting the volumes they were exporting. Two, the contracts must have been with very strong exit clauses that in light of a shortage, they could pull out. Up to now, ZESCO is still exporting power to Botswana and Namibia. Up to now, our people do not have power, but Haberon has power. You cannot be trying to shine Mukomboni. So that you look good to the neighbors. But you are absconding your duties as a parent. That's what ZESCO and this paralysis is. The cost to the economy is so huge. So huge. Remember the Minister of Finance, Honorable Dr. Stumbeko Musokotwane, had said we will have growth of up to 4.7% in 2024. It's been revised to 1.2%. We actually maybe have a depressed economy for who we know. Because if they can
his projections were all things being equal and didn't foresee the drought situation.
Sadly, he projected in 2021 that the economy will grow around 5.2%. Well, it grew only by 2.7%. 2022, 2023 predicted that the economy will grow by 4.7%. It grew by 2.5%. This year, he projected that the economy will grow by 4.5%. It's now at 1.2%. Or probably we're even in depression. So I wonder what an economist he is. Maybe may not be an economist for our times because he has missed the mark from 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. At every stage in the middle of the term, he'll bring a supplementary budget as if he didn't know that these matters will arise. He would want more money than he had budgeted for. And then he would revise the economy down, its growth rate. So for me, I think there are contingencies in planning. There are expert knowledge, like we knew that there was a drought coming. We were warned. In fact, for the PF, when we had the worst drought in 2015, we were warned that another drought is coming in 2023, 2024, because the cycle of this El Nino seems to be 9 to 10 years. Hence, if you saw, the Patriotic Front began to build up maize reserves. From 2019, we banned exports. 2020, we banned exports. 2021, we banned exports. When President Hakainde Hichilema came into office, we had saved up to 1.5 million metric tons from 3 seasons. You don't build up that kind of reserves national strategic reserves with the Food Reserve Agency under one season. No, you do not. But him, by share whatever what in Sangwapo, no kwamba kugoleka kushtisha, and he began to sell everywhere on the pretext that he needed to pay the farmers. How do we pay the farmers always? The farmers are crying that they are owed. Just now, last week, there was a statement that the farmers are owed over 500 million kwacha. And we are going into a farming season. I saw later, 2 days later, a statement from the Secretary to Treasury committing himself that they will dismantle the 500 million they owe our farmers. So have they exported maize to pay those farmers? No, they have not. And that's what previous ministers of finance have done. It's better to keep the reserves and then look for money, pay the farmers, but you have national strategic reserves. Remember, national food reserve is national security. Food security is national security. You lose food security, you lose national security, because you can have food riots. You can have riots, you can have demonstrations, you can have picketing, and you can have a spike in the economy of inflation because you don't have food. You have to import it. People have to scrounge for it. As we are seated now, I'm told we do not have wheat. Wheat has run out. So do not be surprised if bread, for example, also goes very high because people have to import. They have to import wheat. We've been importing some maize, we know. We saw ZNS get permission from cabinet office that they'll be importing for a period of 10 months maize and mealie meal from South Africa. So food security is national security. You lose food security, you lose national security. But our people do not understand. Our leaders in power currently do not understand. So they would rather risk national security. They would rather, because of business decisions, no humanity in their decisions.
Now, let's move to Parliament, because obviously you had preempted the matter in as far as Mopani is concerned. You don't seem satisfied by the explanation and response by the minister as to also why the sale of the shares in Mopani did not require Article 210 to apply on it. I mean, he has explained it several times. We seem not to be getting it.
Yeah.
How else would you rather it is explained?
Zach, the UPND always try to bash us. You people accept that President Hakainde Hichilema is working. He has delivered free education. He has delivered CDF. He has revived the mines on the Copper Belt and in Northwestern Province. You are not just being grateful. Well, our answers are very simple. Well, CDF, remove the corruption. It's a looting frenzy for UPND cadres and their cooperatives. Remove the corruption, maybe we'll praise you. Free education, well, you cannot have a teacher having 120 students. Just in one subject here, she or he has 120 books. What about our subjects 6 to 9? How does a teacher cope?
Where do you find corruption in CDF?
It's a looting frenzy for cooperatives and the UPND. Take, for example, the matter that is currently in Parliament. Ambulances were procured last year for this year under 2024 CDF. Is that a decision of CDF to buy ambulances? Should that be a decision of CDF? Why are you buying it from the center? Does Lusaka Central need an ambulance? Does it? So
it's a decision of CDF.
You have corrupt decision. No, like communities must decide. Communities must decide if they need an ambulance.
But every community does need.
That is a job of